Dr. Frank. Thank you, Mr. Frank. In fact, if your name is Frank, I'd like to thank you. Graduates, you look spectacular this morning. I sense many of you are using very expensive hair care products. And the girls look really good too. This is a great honor for me. When I first learned you had wanted me to give your convocation speech, I looked for a template in the great commencement speeches of the past. Steve Jobs at Stanford, Bill Gates at Harvard, Stephen Colbert at Northwestern, the Dalai Lama at Tulane. Clearly, I'm nowhere near their category. It's said about journalists that our knowledge is like manure on a farmer's field. Wide, but shallow. My template for a convocation speech is from someone else. A huge influence for your parents' generation, Kermit the Frog. 20 years ago this month, Kermit delivered one of the great all-time graduation speeches to the Southampton campus of Long Island University in New York State. It had a strong environmental theme because Kermit had a vested interest in the environment. They were environmental issues that we are still dealing with today. Part of Kermit's advice in his speech: you are no longer tadpoles. Enjoy life. Graduates, I'd like to say congratulations. Congratulations on the immense amount of knowledge you have crammed into your brains. This collective knowledge shared among all of you is the foundation to a future of excellence. With all this stuff in your brains, one day you can start businesses, create new forms of energy, perform root canals, build bridges, build houses, balance books, balance interpersonal relationships. And then there's all that other stuff in your brains, that stuff about Justin Bieber. Let that be the first lesson for you today. Justin Bieber is an easy punchline. And let that be the second lesson for you. Don't be Justin Bieber. People have been making fun of Justin for many years now. It's okay. He's a public figure, and he's brought a lot of it upon himself. But for all of Justin Bieber's exposure to the world, he will never experience the ultimate humiliation: being tagged in your mom's Facebook photo. I'm on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, but I think for teens, social media is kind of like a bush party where you're trying to get as far away from your parents as possible. When your parents are on Snapchat, it is your opportunity to create a brand new form of social media. You already are the most connected generation in human history. You've heard your parents' very quaint stories about visiting the library. You guys now have libraries of information in the palm of your hand, and I think that's a bit misleading. Hollywood producer Brian Grazer has produced dozens of movies and TV shows: Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, 24, Arrested Development, Friday Night Lights. One practice Grazer has had since he was in his early 20s was to create a curiosity conversation, he calls it, every couple of weeks. He'd phone up someone he hadn't met and spend a few minutes with them. He's met with Nobel Prize winners, world leaders, celebrities, business people, athletes. Now that curiosity didn't necessarily lead to anything. It didn't necessarily lead to an idea for another movie or a TV show, but the information always enriched him. Grazer found there are things you can learn from people and not from technology. In his book, A Curious Mind, Grazer writes, "You can't search for the answer to questions that haven't been asked yet. And you can't Google a new idea. The internet can only tell us what we already know." I think what Brian Grazer is saying is not every answer is on your phone. Thank your parents today. They'll continue to brag about you, but it will be different now. People used to ask me where your kids go to school. I'd say, Westmount Charter School. They'd say, "Is that private?" I'd say, "No, it's publicly funded." They'd say, "What is it?" Then I, or your parents, would casually say, "It's a school for gifted learners." For a parent, that's like a mic drop. But But of course, Westmount is much more than that. It's a very special community that has been tested in the past year. You're a tight group. Many of you have gone to school together since kindergarten. And midway through this year, you lost two of your friends, one of whom would have been with you graduating here today. It's difficult to find meaning in the loss of two young men. Jordan and Evan were exceptional people, and they would have been exceptional adults. I find it terribly sad. If you're able to find meaning in their loss, whether spiritual or otherwise, and that gives you solace, then I think you're fortunate. The loss of such young lives is shocking. Many of your parents are at an age now where they're seeing their coworkers, friends, and siblings dealing with serious illnesses. Two of my coworkers have passed away in recent years, one from a heart attack, another from cancer, and that was especially sad. He had preschool-aged children. When you're an adult, moving into your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s, you have to accept reluctantly that sometimes an early demise is part of life.